Hello. You almost don't have a flip video lesson tonight because my children stole the batteries out of the flip camera for their Xbox. So I went and stole them back. So they're going to be unhappy when they play their Xbox. You should have your notes that I gave you in class today. We did set it up as a 2-flap foldable. It should say multiplying decimals and mixed numbers across the bottom. And I took the notes for you, which you guys probably love when we do flipped lessons because I do that to save time. So we're going to go through them. We're going to do the 4 practice problems on your notes, and then you have your sheet of 4 problems that you need to do for guided practice. So your lesson should take about 15 minutes tonight because I know you're going to do really well at this, especially because you all multiply so well. So we're going to start on the side that talks about multiplying a decimal and a whole number. And I'm going to have you read the notes along with me so I know that you're reading them. It says your product will always be bigger than the decimal, but smaller than the whole number. Because when you're multiplying a whole number by a decimal, you're taking part of that number. So your answer has to be smaller if it's just a decimal. Now here are the steps. Number 1, you line up the numbers vertically. 2, multiply like there is no decimal. And then you look at the place value of your decimal number and use that to determine the decimal placement in your product. It's really easy. I'll show you in just a minute. The place value should match. So let's look at our first example, which is 52 times 6/10. My answer will be bigger. Well, it's got to be bigger than the decimal, so you'd write 6/10, but smaller than 52. So if you get an answer that's bigger than 52, you know you're wrong. Then it said my answer should go out to the blank place value. Well, if you look, our biggest place value, our smallest place value is 6/10. There's no decimals here, so we're just working with 6/10. So your answer should go out to the tenths place. So you should have one number behind your decimal. All right? Then you line up the numbers vertically. Well, I'm going to put the decimal in, even though I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to line them up like I used to. All right? 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30. Plus 1 is 31. Well, I have 312. Now my answer can't be 312 because it has to be bigger than 6/10 and smaller than 52. I also know that I have to go out to the tenths place value. So the placement of my decimal should be right here to show that I went out to the tenths. Any questions? Okay, now we're going to move down, but I'm moving across because I just set my paper up wrong. Sorry about that. And we're going to go through the steps of the next one. Your next example is 132 times 74 hundredths. So your answer should be bigger than 74 hundredths, but it's going to be smaller than 132. Then if you look, in this particular one, we're going out to the hundredths place. So in our answer, we need to go out to the hundredths place. Let's look and see how that works. I'm going to set it up. Now I'm going to add the decimal, but I don't have to worry about it right now. When you set up addition and subtraction, the decimal placement is so important. With multiplication, it's not as important because you are actually looking at your original problem. Now I'm going to multiply it out. 4 times 2 is 8. Nothing to carry. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Now just like in traditional multiplication, I'm going to drop that place value and drop it. I'm done with the hundredths place. I just dropped it. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 1 is 22. Carry the 2. 7 times 1 is 7. Plus 2 is 9. Then I'm going to add, just like I would. 8 and 0 is 8. 4 and 2 is 6. 5 and 2 is 7. And 9 and nothing is 9. Now, there's 2 ways I can check my decimal placement. First of all, I know my answer has to be less than 132 and greater than 74 hundredths, which gives me a couple different places to try, actually just 2, 9 and 768 thousandths and 97 and 68 hundredths. But then I have to remember, I went out to the hundredths place value. This number needs to go out to the hundredths place value, not the thousandths. So my decimal goes right here. Pretty easy, huh? Okay, we're done with that side of the notes. Close them and look at your second side. If you look, now we're going to talk about multiplying a whole number by a mixed number. And a mixed number is a whole number and a decimal. Now your product is going to be bigger than either factor because you are multiplying whole numbers and a decimal. It's not going to be smaller. Your steps are the same, and because I'm running out of time, we're going to work through these as I go over them. All right, and I just lost my clock. Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to start with 134 times 5 2/10. I'm going to line up my numbers vertically. All right. Step 2, I'm going to multiply like there is no product. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. I'm done with my 2. I'm dropping my 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. Then I'm going to add. Now here I've got to look back to my original problem and realize that I went out to the tens place. So I need to make sure that I once again go out to the tens place. But now since I'm working with whole numbers, so you see my place values match, I can estimate to check. And I know you love to estimate to check. I teach you to do that all the time. When I estimate to check, I'm going to round to a comfortable place value. All right, I'm going to round the 134 to 130. Just because I'm going to round the 5 2/10 to 5, and 5 is really easy to work with. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. 650 is close to 696 8/10, so it is a check. Super. Now we've got one more to do together. All right, and we've got 23 times 4 71/100. Now, if you look at your first step, it says line up the numbers vertically. Put the number with the most digits on top, not the bigger number. Usually the number with the most digits that we've always worked with has been the bigger number, but since we're working with decimals now, the smaller number can actually have more digits. And since this has 3 digits and this has 2 digits, and I want to minimize how much I have to multiply, ooh, that was kind of cool sounding, I'm going to put the 4 7/10 on top. Or excuse me, 71/100. 71/100, sorry. And I'm going to multiply that by the 23. Looks better that way. All right. I know that my answer is going to go out to the hundreds because I'm going out to the hundreds. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 7 is 21. Carry the 2. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. Done with the 3. I'm going to drop. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. 3 and 0 is 3. 1 and 2 is 3. 4 and 4 is 8. 9 and 1 is 10. Now I think, because I have to go out to the hundreds, that the best decimal place value is going to be right here. 108 and 33/100. I'm out to the hundreds place. But I am going to estimate to check. Now when I estimate to check, I'm going to put the 20 on top. And I'm going to round this 4 71/100 to the nearest whole number, which is 5. That's 100. That's close. That is a check. And it also lets me know that my decimal placement is right, because 108 is close to 100. If I put the decimal here, 10 and 833 thousandths isn't close to 100, so that's bad. And if I put it here, 1,083 and 3/10 is not close to 100. So the estimating helps you check your decimal placement as well as checking your answer for reasonableness. All right, that's it. It only took me about 9 minutes to explain that to you. I hope you understand it. You have your 4 problems that you need to do for guided practice. Bring those problems back to me tomorrow and we will go over them and we'll see how you did. Have a good night.